Once again, Mud Fossil University today talking about Russian soldiers being turned into limestone. Instantly, spontaneous limestone combustion. What can I say? This is the report. Now, is it true? Did it happen? I don't know. Could it be credible? Yes, it could. And here is why. I will make these statements, then we'll go through this report. Okay, this is the Giganti at Del Marie, I believe is what it's called. Now, what I want you to look at is the expression on his face. Now, I've been told, oh, this is made, somebody built this, it's nothing, it's nothing. Well, it is something, and nobody built this. They tried to fix it. They put some patches in his face with metal stays and so forth. They didn't hold up. But if you understand anatomy, you just get any anatomist. And if they can say this is not biological, I want to know the anatomist you're talking about. That is the pattern of the muscle that's in the arm, and where it breaks off right there. There's muscle and tendon, and the bone patterns are in here. Now, this is the connective tissue. You see that? Nobody put that inside the guy's leg. It has eroded away. That is the red, bloody, fleshy tissue. The external surface is completely gone away. That is the tendon. That is CaCO3, calcium limestone. Exactly what the Russians said. And the surface of the skin will also become a limestone type of marbleized surface. I don't believe they understand what it is if this is the process. You don't turn it to 100% limestone, absolutely not. The connective tissues turn into limestone. The fleshy, bodily, fluidy areas turn into plasticky clays and red mud, really, when it's out in the environment. But when it's encapsulated somehow Medusa did this, and these Gorgons did this. That is the product of Gorgonization, and it was written about very extensively. All right, so look at this, and now I want you to see something else. Now, you don't have to be any expert or scientist or biologist or anybody, except you have to have vision to see the exact same identical structure, same colors, same texture, same everything. Now, I want to show you something else. All right, this is the Colossus, it's at Apennine. Now look at this. You see that right there? That's tendon. Those are tendinous fibers. I know those very well. I see them in the mud fossils, and I see them all over the earth. And I'm going to show you in the anatomical drawings. Now, additionally, you see this color of this? This is what's called kaolin clays. Kaolin clays. That is what covers your body and your skin, in your fine skin areas. Primarily, it's very fine in this area, and they actually make fine china from that fine clay. Now, they try to patch it up here. You can see, obviously, this is originally was flash frozen by some kind of Medusa technology, which I claim are the molecules communicating with each other from this blast of light, which would have been very similar to the Russian soldier event. And that blast of light and that number of frequencies all at one time talking to all the molecules in their frequencies saying stabilize, and that's it. Bing! That's the end of them in these poses that are just absolutely unbelievable. And I have a whole batch of them. It's not just these couple of them. There's the whole lot. And let me show you this. The documentation supports it. You see that? That's the tendon that we're looking at. That is exactly what it is. It's those little bars that come just like that, and they snap off because they're very, very strong and brittle. This is something you should read, is Ovid. Absolutely amazing. Little vignettes of the stories that were told in history, and I believe they're true, as crazy amazing as they sound. Now listen to this. This is about Phineas's turn to stone. This is from book 5, 200 to 249 lines. They all deserved the punishment they suffered, except one of Perseus's warriors. While he was fighting on his side, Aconteus saw the Gorgon's head and took the shape of hardened stone. Astyages struck him with his long sword, thinking he was still alive, and the blade gave a high-pitched ringing noise. While Astyages stood there amazed, the same power transformed him. He remained there with a wondering look on his marble face. It would take a long time to tell the names of the middle ranks of men. 200 bodies survived the fight. 200 bodies turned to stone in this one battle at the site of the Gorgon's head. And then it goes on to, now at last Phineas regrets the unjust fight. You know, these guys fought like just absolutely insane. And more than not, it was all about women. And Medusa was originally, a really stunning-looking woman that was, Athena didn't like it because she was too good-looking, and Poseidon, her husband, hit on her, and actually the way it says is he raped her right in front of her. I don't know if that's true or not. I wasn't there. I have no clue. But there is that sort of story that that she ran into the temple of Athena for protection. Athena didn't protect her. Poseidon raped her. He ended up going back in the ocean. The case was closed, and Athena hated her, turned her beautiful, gorgeous hair and her into snakes, and anybody look at her would turn solid stone. That's the story. And then when Perseus eventually cut her head off and kept it for a weapon and he was using it to keep these people, his enemies, turn them into stone. When he cut Medusa's head off, out of her head sprung two monsters. One of out of her neck and her body. She was pregnant with the Pegasus, and boy, there was something else I can't remember what it was. But there was two monsters inside of her. They came out. This was the most absolutely incredible. It's like a big video game. But I believe all these things actually happen. I mean, I know the dragon's there. They talk about Perseus cutting his neck when he saved. Originally Athena, or was it Andromeda? But he saved one of them that was going to be sacrificed to the Leviathan, the giant dragon. And he said, well, I'll take care of this. He cut the dragon's neck. So let's go back to the I mean, I know this just sounds crazy, but I don't know what else to say. From all the research I have done, what is really crazy is the attitude we have today that stuff was crazy. So, two crazies make a totally insane world. Anyway, here we got from Russia. This is supposedly, now I can't confirm this, it's the CIA, I don't work with the CIA, I have no clue what they do, but it says it's from 1993, the Russians had this, and a bunch of Russian guys were out there doing military maneuvers, having a good time, shooting back and forth at each other, and all of a sudden they saw this low-flying UFO, and shot at it, and shot it down, and they were not happy, and let's take it from there. So, this is after Mikhail dissolved the Soviet Union in 1991, KGB, Top Secret Intelligence Administration, a lot of natural from that department found their way abroad. So a lot of the material. In particular, CIA, as reported by authoritative magazine and Canadian Weekly World News, U.S. intelligence obtained a 250-page file on attack by a UFO of a military unit in Siberia. The file contains not only many documents, photographs, and drawings, but also testimonies by actual participants in the events. I would love to see this file because I have a ton of questions that are very important, that are not just silly questions. Anyway. One of the CIA representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of revenge on the part of the extraterrestrial creatures, a picture that makes one's blood freeze. Literally, it sounds like. Now, according to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, someone decided to launch a surface-area missile and hit the UFO. It fell to the earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies that by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the little guys, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape, a round ball of light apparently. That object began to buzz and hiss sharply, which is molecules bashing in and vibrating each other, and then became brilliant white, which is the effect of stimulation of molecules. And all that makes sense. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. I have seen evidence of these things exactly like this happening. From afar, not petrifying anybody, but I have seen these same glowing little orbs come together and poof, pop up like that, and I can't explain it. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomena turned into stone poles. Now, 23, there was 25 altogether. 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. That tells me they weren't being hit by the same molecular electronic interactions programming of their bodies. Now, I worked in the electronics industry, and I worked in places where they had to send programs from cash registers. Really, they were point of sale systems, and they would do it. I would do it with infrared. And in the pole displays of the cash register units, you could point the pole display at another unit all the way across the room and hit send, and it would send that infrared radiation and program that other unit to be identical to the unit that was sending the program. So I know that these kind of things are possible, to send that information, to reprogram something that was not originally programmed in that way. Now, the torus that I've been investigating appears to have 3 sets of divisions as it spins and 4 separate spots on each one of these 3 separations. That makes 12. Everything in the whole world of the Torah and Taurus and 12 saviors and 12 apostles and 12 titans and 12 of everything. Now, breaking down from the 12, divided by 3, you have 4. 4 is the same number, and these are in all of these different 3 divisions on the Torah. When it spins, these 3 divisions make 4 spots on each division, which ends up being exactly like a spinning helical DNA code with 4 divisions on each link of the DNA code. The CTAG. And it depends on how those CTAGs are back and forth all the way as it spins up. And this is the same exact identical situation. This is the code that I'm talking about. That's the torus. And I just did this about God communicates with this atomic code. And this guy, Stan Tenen, did some very, very good research on this. Now, and that lets it come around, and then it rolls in again, and then it rolls back out, and it keeps it rolls in. And it's the structure of the torus that allows that to happen, and it's the inductance and the choking of the field in the neck that creates enough reverse electromotive force to keep this thing rocking. All right, I go through this whole thing, and I show, and I'm not just joking. I understand this quite well, and I'm showing all this with my own electronic work that I did with Rod Warren. These are pictures that Rod actually took of light, and I believe those are the light products. I believe that's the torus, and I believe that as it spins in the right-hand spin, it spins around in the right-hand spin, and then dives into the neck and accelerates, and is a right-hand spin, and as it accelerates down, it glows, and then it continues with the right-hand spin, but now it's going backwards. That makes it go dark. It gathers its field into itself, but it's still a right-hand spin. Now watch what happens. It spins to the right, comes out. Now it's going this direction. Halfway across, it starts to accelerate, going in. So you leave the darkness, you start into the light, and it spins in. Now it's still spinning to the right-hand spin. It dives in again. At the choke, it can't go any further. It repulses itself many times the input volt. Still spinning to the right. It comes back out. Right spin. Now it goes up to here. Dark until it hits the... So that, I say, is the light. And the only time it expresses itself is when it comes through the venturi. And I had a real issue with trying to determine why it could flip this field. Because what my impression is impossible. Well, it isn't impossible because it's slowing down. It's actually tumbling. That tumbled. That's the only reason this black showed up to here. And now the field is here. You see how this is this way? Over here there was lines that went this way. It's now tumbled. And I think I actually can show this right here. You see? Here it is. It comes out, the lines are sideways after it accelerates. And now it shows up here, and then it starts to tumble into these. See, it's straight up this way, straight up this way. It just now starts to tumble, and then it goes this way. So that now is sideways, and then it continues to flop, and it goes back to up and down again, you see? That is the issue we got here. That's why this changed its orientation, because originally it was oriented this way, and as it flopped over, it's now oriented that way. And then now it's taken on, and it's in its slowing down process. And my point about these little particles and the torus and the 4 different characters on each section of the spinning torus, and having 12 total, and continuously spiraling, just like spiraling straight up the double helix. I'm saying that is the ability for these things to discuss with each other what they have to do. And I'm going to tell you right now what an enzyme does, which is nothing more than a bunch of little chemistries that is created by a bacteria, which is life, says make this little enzyme to go out and do this specific job. When that enzyme goes out, it's called a catalyst. It goes out and says, okay, listen guys, everybody come around here. We all got to do this one thing because we're in a quorum. There's a thing we got to do right now, and let's do it. Bam! And guess what happens? In 1 second, one enzyme converts 10,000 molecules to do exactly what it was sent out by that bacteria to do. So don't tell me that this is all accidental, bumping this and that, and you were just aimlessly rolling through life. There's a meaning and a purpose, and there's a structure and an architecture and a process. And it doesn't stop at just making yourself live. There's more to this than that. In my mind, anybody can do whatever they want, but I'm just telling you, I think there's a hell of a lot going on here that people have missed because it's been told, oh, there's not God, there's none of this stuff, forget about all that. Something happened, and there's one big God, I believe. I know there's a ton of gods, there has to be. It's all been written, and there's no question they were around. But there was one big God, and he had a son called Jesus, and Jesus had the ability to do all these things. He could turn anybody into do anything he wanted. He could make you see. He could make you healthy. He could do anything he wanted. And that's all been very, very, very well recorded. So don't tell me, oh, that's just all nonsense. No. The people that are ignoring it are the ones that are sending out nonsense. Now, let's go back to this, because I got a ton of questions. And I'd love to get this file and look it over and see what exactly turned to what in what places in the body. Because that's the chemistry. You got to understand the chemistry. The only place limestone is going to be recreated is in your connective tissues. That's my point, because it's calcium carbonate, CaCO3, is porphyritic limestone, porphyritic basalt, all kinds of names they have for it. Anyway, let's finish this up and we'll call it quits for today. A KBG report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institute near Moscow. So specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, saying transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different from that of limestone. They don't understand limestone. I understand what limestone is, and I understand the tissue organization of what they call limestone. I guarantee you, well, I can't guarantee anything, but I can tell you one thing in my mind, I'm almost absolutely 100% certain, is the places that they call limestone will be different, where your ankles are, where it's truly limestone, CaCO3, and then in the fleshy areas where it has turned to a marbleized limestone, and if they crack into it, under that, inside, you will see that red fleshy area, just like I showed in the Gigante. In his legs. So I think it's time to. This could be kind of serious. I'm going to areas that are a little on the scary side. In all honesty, they are. But that's just life. What are you going to do about that? If you hide from it, no, I'm not gonna. So anyway, Mud Fossil University. Thumbs up if you like it. If you don't like it, just go away. No, anyway, it is what it is. I'd like to hear any factual discussion about this. I don't want to hear about how the shape of the Earth has something to do with this stuff, please. All right. So anyway, Mud Fossil University.